Hey, I'm Paige Killian, founder and CEO of Everything with Style. I've built a business helping busy moms of littles get organized in 3 simple steps. Like many of my clients, I love being a mom, and I also desire more. If you've ever felt that stirring in your heart, that whisper or really loud voice that keeps you up at night, then you are in the right place. Because this is not a solo mission. Whether you're a little curious or totally ready to be a mom, boss, and use your God-given gifts to serve others, step into your calling, turn your passions into purpose, and still make it to the carpool line on time, then girlfriend, it's time to pivot. I've got you. Now let's get started. Welcome back to another episode of the Time to Pivot podcast. I cannot wait for you guys to hear from my amazing guest today, who I just got to see in person recently at Brooke Hemingway's Align conference. Kendra Cooke is in the house today. How you doing, Kendra?
Hi, friend. How are you?
Okay, I told my mom when I was talking to her before we started this podcast, I told her, you are going to love Kendra's accent because she feels like home. She feels like our people. Remind me where you're from again?
Nashville, right outside Nashville. Yep.
Okay.
Murfreesboro, Tennessee.
Amazing. I believe I told you when you said that the first time. I have sorority sisters in Murfreesboro. So that is awesome. And I'm a kind of sort of a Memphis girl. I was in Humboldt for a little bit, Humboldt, Tennessee, outside of Jackson, Tennessee. And then I was in Memphis, Tennessee when my dad took us to the big city. Whenever we were small town people, and we went to the big city of Memphis with his car dealership dreams. And so now somehow I found myself in LA, and it's really funny because when I came out here, people were asking me, where are you from? Are you from Texas? And I'm from the other UT, you know? And so anytime I meet anybody out here, it just makes me feel like home. And that's immediately how I felt when you and I got a chance to talk. And can I just geek out over your book really quickly? It's actually in the background if you are seeing this on video, but I have it in front of me too. Those of you who've listened to my podcast before, you know I love the 3 E's. And when I saw Kendra's book, it is literally called, it's 3 different E words. It's embrace, empower, evolve, a practical guide to embracing change, which I love talking about embracing change. She had got me there, empowering growth and evolving into your true self. And I feel like evolving really feels a lot like, now you're on the Time to Pivot podcast. Evolving feels a lot like you gotta be good at the pivot. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself and your background before we dive into really talking about how we do your 3 E's and how we feel comfortable doing that and move forward with confidence when things are often so uncertain? Can you tell us a little bit about your background?
Yes, thank you so much. I'm excited to be here. So actually, I'm born and raised in Southern Illinois, but I left Southern Illinois the day after I graduated high school. So I really claim Tennessee as home for me. But I went there to go to law school. So it's kind of funny that the name of your podcast, it Pivot, because, you know, I thought I was going down a path of law school and ended up answering the phone in a real estate office at 18 years old. And so now I've been in real estate over 30 years, thinking all along I was going to be a big fancy attorney. So pivots are going to happen. Just, you got to roll with it, right? I talk about it in my book, Give God Your Plan and He'll laugh at you every time. So, but my real estate career was in Middle Tennessee, and started as a receptionist and went all the way up to open my own brokerage and ended up selling that in 2017. And during that time, I had a lot of challenges, did a lot of things wrong, and really didn't know about coaching, and was given that gift from someone of, you should come to this event. Just like you mentioned, we met at Brooke's event. Somebody invited me to an event, and I was at a very, very pivotal point in my life that my husband was like, you fix your workaholism or I'm out. And I hit my knees as a believer. And within a few weeks, I was at this conference, and that put me on the trajectory of really changing my future. And so once I mastered the plan that they had taught me, I decided that it was time to pay it forward. And I was given that gift. And so I went into coaching full time when I sold my real estate business. and traveled the country and loved that speaking. And then in 2023, really woke up and said, I think there is a space for me in the empowerment world. I still coach realtors. I still love talking about money. I just did a money TEDx talk. But at the end of the day, I love talking to women who feel stuck or misaligned or broken or too old or too young or wrong color skin or whatever your excuse is. I love for you to hand me that and let me show you how we can break all of those labels that you've given yourself or someone else has given you to create the life that you want by design. So that's where I am today.
Yeah, well, I just got chills. And I love that you said life by design. I really love that. And I think that when you're sort of partnered with God on that, and you made the comment, we talked about this too before you hit record about just when we make those plans, God laughs because he's like, oh, that's so cute that you're trying to do that, without me. And the second, I mean, I always love that Brooks conference is called Align because it really has to do with the seasons you're in, right? So just like you said, that you had big plans of being a lawyer. I was a theater major in college, but first I was a business marketing and management double major. And I had that plan that I was going to be the responsible oldest daughter and I was going to be, business, business, business. And my sophomore year, my parents paid for me to go to New York. My mom and a great friend of mine who used to be my babysitter, her name is Jennifer. We went to New York and we saw so many plays in just a few days. And I wept. I mean, I was sobbing, not in a cute way, in a really embarrassing way in public, the scary cry and the ugly cry for sure. And I just knew that that actually was not the path that God had for me. It didn't mean that things that I had learned those first couple of years of college were in vain, and it didn't mean that they weren't going to serve me. It just meant that I was done with that season of my life and I was stepping into this new one. And don't you agree, Kendra, you have to be bold and brave to step into something new when it's very uncertain.
100%. I mean, courage, right? We have to be courageous, and it's okay to be bold and brave, but you got to find the courage from within to trust in your higher power, as I've done many times, and just take the leap of faith. But at the end of the day, you got to bet on yourself too.
Yeah.
When you can trust yourself, it doesn't matter what other people think, because bold, brave, courageous, all those things are on us. But there are going to be enough naysayers saying, oh gosh, that's a terrible idea, Paige. Why would you give up this business career? Like, theater majors are starving. They're going
Right?
hungry. I heard it's a man's world. Like, real estate, really, it's dominated by men. Like, as a woman owner, you won't have a seat at the table. Well, then let's build the dang table. Let
Yeah.
me build my own table, right? Like you said, I'll pursue that because that's my passion. So that's why I started saying, I'm going to create the life that I want by my design, not by social media design, not by somebody else's design, and not even by my parents. I love them and I respect them and I want them to be proud of me. But sometimes you got to bet on your dang self.
Absolutely. And you just mentioned something when you said not social media. And what you and I really talked about a couple weeks ago is that you established this incredible real estate career based on relationships. You did not have a social media presence, correct? When you were doing that? Tell me about
That is
that.
that is correct. I'm quite old, okay?
No, you're not. No,
If
you're
you go
not.
back to the late 80s, early 90s, we didn't have social media. So I didn't have to worry about comparing myself to somebody else on social media. I was too busy on the chase of feeding my family and watching other people saying, hey, I want to be like them. And where do they go? And what do they do? And what do they drive? And so I had that comparison, just not on social media. I had to go look for it. Right. And so it was a different way to build a business so long ago. And so it's so funny. I mean, I was on a coaching call this morning with a student, and she's like, wait, you want me to call these people and set an appointment? And I was like, I sure do.
What? The
Right.
audacity to pick up
Right.
with.
And she's like, I could just shoot him a text. And I was like,
Yeah.
no. I mean, relationships are not built on social media, in my opinion. Relationships are built outside of social media. And then I get to enhance them and watch what you're doing and comment and like. But there are a lot of people that have built businesses off social media. I just wasn't one of them. I just got an Instagram page last year. So 2025, baby, I was late to the table and I'm still learning. Like, I think I was at a line asking people now, what do I do next? And how do I write over this picture? And it's just, I would rather pick up the phone or sit in front of you with a cup of coffee or a walk in the park and just really go deep because this is going to be shocking for some people, but there's a lot of fake stuff on social media.
Say it again, girl. Say it again for the people in the back. It's true. It is true. And I mean, it's interesting that you said I had to go looking for people to compare myself to. I mean, it's really interesting. And, we know that comparison is the thief of joy. And I think that okay, talk about this. So you mentioned getting in the room and, doing those things. We talked about the conference we were just at. There's also so many others. Talk about how you feel like getting in the room and being around like-minded people who are doing the things you want to do. For example, can we bring up our girl, Amberly Lago? How much do we love her?
We love her.
We love her. She's so great. Shout out. Okay, so what do you think you get so much from people who, not necessarily that you're comparing yourself to in a they're better than me sort of way? Can you talk about that differentiation between getting in the room and learning from people who have been there, done that sort of thing, versus that comparison that you might see in person, you might see, in your law firm? There may have been some, law firm that you could have been in, your real estate agency, maybe there was somebody at the table that there was that comparison and thinking like, ooh, I don't know if I'm measuring up. Or maybe you thought, I'm so much better than them. I don't know if that's even healthier either. But talk about the differentiation of getting in the room around like-minded people who will lift you up.
Yeah. I have a nickname among my peers as the sponge, because I always say, if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. And so I really, really go in with that open mindset is somebody's going to teach me something. I'm going to take something away from the time I invested in this room and the finances that I invested in this room to make myself or my business or my life better. So I think it really all starts mentally. I'm not going there to compare myself. I'm going there to be a sponge and what can I learn? And then I would say the other thing is don't be fearful of asking questions of people. My story of how I met Amberly is just a whole God story, but I was following her, listening to her podcast, and had even bought a ticket to her event before I'd even met her. I did not know one soul that was going to be in that room. But I knew that if I went to that room, somehow I would see her in the bathroom. I would see her in the lunchroom. So I could look at her and say, I want to coach with you. I pursued her. So sometimes you got to put yourself out there. You got to take a little risk. It's worth the reward. I promise you that. But I just think that so many times we forget that there are people in that room that are willing to share, that are willing to give, that are so much further down the path than me. And who am I to let my ego get in my way? I mean, you talk about thief of happiness and thief of joy. I mean, our ego is the bane of my existence and has been for 55 years because I don't want to look weak, or I don't want to look like I'm successful, or I don't want to look like whatever those things that we put in our brain. They're all excuses, and the excuses are driven by our ego. And so, ego is important if you're in sales. I mean, you got to get knocked down. You got to get back up. We need a little bit of ego, but we got to check it too, to say, you know what, I'm going there to learn. I'm going there to be inspired. I'm going there to be changed. And there is something in that room that I need. And if I go with an open mind, I'll come home with it.
Oh, I love it. I just love every bit of it. And I really like this too. So you guys, I just have to tell you that the fact that she's talking about being a sponge and getting in the room to learn all the things from these people is interesting, because she was a featured author. I talked about that a little bit on my podcast before when I was going into it, and I was so excited I was going to get to be a part of the author's corner. Not because, certainly I was excited to share my book, but because I knew that there were these really high caliber people who were also going to be in that area where we could share our books. And you and I immediately were like, can we do a book swap? And so excited because I just really wanted to learn all about you. And again, I saw the three E's that were on top of your book, and I'm like, sign me up. This book is fantastic. You guys have got to get it. I will put the link in show notes. Please, you got to check it out. Also, I really liked that you are looking at this room as a way to be a sponge and glean so much from the speakers when you too, you and I both had the opportunity to be speakers there. You were going up on stage to speak. So you were not entering this room as I'm an expert, I'm an authority with nothing to learn. You are, I'm an expert, I'm an authority in my area. And I am so excited to learn more from the other experts, from the other speakers, from the other authors, from the other people in the audience who have been through some struggles and they continue to move forward however they can at the time. So, would you agree that even a coach needs a coach?
Yes, I coach women, I hold retreats, I speak, and as soon as I got out of my previous coaching program, I sought out a coach, researched, read the book, and bought the ticket and sought her out as a coach. And I've been coaching with her for over a year now. So, yes, as a coach, we need to be filled up. I don't know everything and I have questions. And I just think that just adopt the mindset of always being a student or just be a sponge, since that's my nickname. Feel free to adopt it. But I just want to always be a student. I always want to be taking something away from every relationship and every connection.
Mm, I love it. It's so good. I love that. And as the former teacher of 15 years, I can appreciate that you said that. Okay, so something in your book says, have you ever felt stuck, uncertain, or disconnected from the life you truly want? That was a great question. So I want to ask you if they are working with you and you guys are coaching together, if they're reading your book, how are you helping people get unstuck when they feel uncertain? And how are you having them feel more connected when they might have an idea of the life they truly want, but they don't know how to get there? I always say sometimes we get stuck in the how. How can you speak more to that, please?
Yes, of course. So it really starts with figuring out what really lights you up and
Mm.
what really makes you happy and maybe makes you money. If you're in a season where, hey, I got to feed my family or I'm accumulating wealth, I say write down the three things that really light you up and make you money.
You guys heard, she said three. That is genius. No, I have to take a moment to say that is genius because it is very reminiscent of how I started when I was working with my coach, Coach Kelly Mobeck. And I went to her, we met at Marmalade Cafe one day in LA, and I said, I need to, so I had been a teacher and I had a newborn baby, and I said, I need to do something else. I'd like to financially contribute again. I don't like not working. I think I was just built that way. I think you probably understand that. I want to feel like I'm contributing. I want to feel like that. But I was stuck and I didn't know. I was like, but what do I do? Do I go back to teaching? That was a love of mine. And that was something that I knew I could do, right? That was like a, sure, I could step right back into that role, but it didn't feel, I'll use the word again, it didn't feel aligned. And I knew that there was an evolution happening in me, but I needed my coach. And at the time, it was Coach Kelly Mobeck. That was the first thing she said to me. She's like, why don't we make a list of things that you love, things that you're good at, your strengths? So I just had a quick flashback to that.
I
And
love it.
10 years ago, it's been a decade
Yeah.
now.
Yeah. And
So, okay. Yeah, so tell us more. Yeah, what happens after that? I love it.
okay, so the three things that light you up, make you money, bring you joy, whatever you're looking for. And then what are the three things that absolutely bottom you out, suck your energy, you resent every time you do it. It's not a highest and best use of your time. And so once we define those two things, then we can figure out what's your time in both of those. And what you'll usually find is the things that suck us dry, take our energy away, make us resentful of having to do them, are things that you can delegate or eliminate.
Mhm.
But we find ourselves there because we're not being rejected. If you're in sales, we love sales, but we don't love rejection, right? We love money, but we don't like looking at it because maybe the picture's not where you want it to be, right? And so when you really divide and conquer what makes you light up and what doesn't. We have to eliminate the things that don't light you up. Now, outsource them, delegate them, minimalize them. Some of those things are things we have to do as moms and wives and kids, mamas, and all those things, but we don't have to do them full time. I tell my ladies, you don't have to make the perfect cupcakes. Publix sells them for $6.99 a half dozen, and you could go buy 2 dozen and nobody gives a rip. Put them on a
Yeah.
plate. If you don't love to bake, stop baking,
Mhm.
right? Like there is no Mom of the Year award. We need to stop doing that to ourselves, right? We need to do the things that light us up. Because at the end of the day, if you're stuck doing things that aren't making you happy, guess who's watching you? Your kids,
Mhm.
your team,
It's
your
true.
family,
Mhm.
your spouse. We are an example for so many people. And if we're always depleted and resentful and negative, nobody wants to be around us. Yet most women crave people and relationships and love and joy and happiness. So we have to move the needle and get out of being stuck. And it really starts with figuring out those things and then doing more of the things that really make you happy. So for me, people always say, well, what are those things for you? So I just simplified it. If it doesn't make me money, it doesn't bring me joy, and it doesn't save me time, the answer is no.
Mhm.
Now, don't take the money thing as monetary. This is a deposit for me. I want to be friends with Paige for a really long time. So when she said, will you be on my podcast? I'm like, yes.
Mhm.
That brings me joy. It also makes me money because somehow I'm going to give her a deposit and somewhere down the road, she's going to deposit it back to me. Whether it's, hey, I need a referral in California. What's the best hotel? I'm not physically talking about we're actually going to put money in each other's pockets. But money for me is, deposits in the bank of relationships. Maybe it's deposits in relationships with your clients, your spouse, your
Mhm.
spouse, right? If we're attentive and on purpose for money, joy, and time when it comes to our spouse, we live a better life.
Mhm.
Same thing with our kids. I got really caught up. When you read the book, you'll know I made a lot of mistakes. I am not perfect, okay? I was sneaking out of the bed at night to go back to my office because I was so addicted to the wrong things. Not drugs or alcohol, but work. It's the same thing. It's an addiction, right? And I had a lot of resentment towards myself later in life that I was not a good mom. I didn't set a good example for my kid. And I don't want to tell this story because I want you to read it. And I can't tell it without crying anyway. So, but there is a story in there when that came back to me, and my son said something to me that I have no resentment or guilt anymore. So I thought he was seeing the bad and he was seeing the good. And it changed everything for me. So align yourself with the things that fill up that light you up column. And let's outsource, delegate the things that you don't. You will get unstuck quicker than you believe when you know what really fills you up. And mine is time, money, and joy. I want to be efficient, which you and I have that on the same level. I want to help people with their money. I've been broke as a joke, robbing Peter to pay Paul, outrunning the IRS. I've made every mistake in money. And I can tell you the flip side of that is a lot of peace and joy comes when you have a sense of security from accumulating a little bit of wealth. And
Mhm.
so those are my three. I hope that answered your question, but you got to figure out what really fuels you because not every day is going to be a 10.
Yes, that's so good. And you actually, that was the perfect segue because my next question was, how do you advise people when it comes to financial decisions? How important is it to know your numbers, to know what's going on, whether it's your business or how you're running your household or whatever it is, whether it's the way that you spend money on frivolous things or important things? Or can you speak more about that? Because I do think, especially so for example, if people are listening to this and they're thinking it's time for me to go back to work, perhaps after having some time off, or maybe I'm in the grind and I'm not loving the work that I'm doing right now, or maybe it's how do I get out of working because it's time for me to step into a different season of my life. How important do you think it is to know your numbers and what does that mean to you? How do you kind of advise people in that way?
Oh my gosh, how much time do we have?
I know, right?
So My story, as I mentioned, I've been broke as a joke. And it starts with small awareness. So just awareness. Let's just start there. If you don't know how much you're spending in your household or you don't know how much you're spending on your team, it's really easy. Get a piece of notebook paper, draw a line down the middle. One side is your expenses, one side is your income for the month. Do you have any money left over at the end of the day? And if you don't, you have to make changes. It's that simple. When my husband and when I went to this coaching program and realized that I thought I had a time management issue. I'm going there saying, I'm sneaking out of bed at night. I need more hours in the day. I don't want to hire people. They let you down. I don't know how to manage people. I made every excuse and deflection about time, 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 time. And after 45 days, they looked at me and they said, you don't have a time management issue. You have a money issue. You're one bad month away from bankruptcy. You're outrunning your debt, thinking you can work harder and next month there'll be a bigger sale and you'll fix it and you'll fix it. And tomorrow never comes. Next month never comes because the debt doesn't stop, right? And so talk about coming to your knees. My husband had no idea. I was in charge of the finances. He had lost his job recently in that scenario, and it was just sink or swim. And I thought I was doing right by the family, and I was just setting us up for a disaster and had no idea because I didn't know how to look at my numbers. So it's super easy. Piece of paper. Listen, it can be that simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Expenses on one side, income on the other. Are you profitable? If not, you got to get out of debt, right? And so I tell people, make a list of all the debt you have: credit card debt, a Home Depot card, a Visa card, a student loan, whatever, from the smallest to the biggest, meaning the payoff. Okay. So for my husband and I talk about this in the book too, we had a lot of debt. We had over $40,000 in debt when we got together. And so we decided we can't get married and buy a house until we're out of debt. So we lived in sin, just full transparency. Our parents didn't love it, but we're like, hey, we're paying 2 rents. If we move together, we can get out of debt faster. So we took a notebook, piece of paper, and wrote all of our debt from the smallest to the biggest, and we put it on our refrigerator. And you guys, we packed our lunches. We both took on a second job at night. We had one rule until we got out of debt, and we could neither one work on Sunday. We had to see each other one day a week if we were going to survive. And we got out of debt just around about a year. And we swore at that point we would never go back into debt. And we simplified our life, and it won't be easy. It is a partnership. If you are in a partnership, it's got to be a joint effort because I was left with some debt from a bad relationship. My husband was terrible with money. So if we did not get here, we were going to be like this. It was never going to come together. And so you really have to have some hard conversations and come together. And so we got out of debt, and then I almost bankrupted us because of the business, because I wasn't aware of my numbers. So it starts with awareness. Number 2, have the hard conversation faster. Right. And then the third thing is forgiveness. I will tell you, I study a lot of money gurus and I, talk about money a lot. And I will tell you, as women, the 3 main reasons ladies don't want to talk about money is, number 1, we weren't taught about it at our household. I'm a farmer's daughter. So I never knew if we had a dime or a donut. My parents got divorced and it was really hard. And my mom's working 2 jobs. I don't know if we have any money. So I was not educated from a young age. Number 2 is everybody said, just go to college and meet a rich guy. You don't have to worry about your career. Go find a rich guy, I mean, those are all conversations we had in college and in high school. I'm going to marry so-and-so. His dad works at such and such. I'm going to be set for life. We all had those conversations, right? And then the third thing is judgment. Women don't like to talk about money because we don't want to be judged. So if you're the biggest earner at the table, we hear things like, did you sleep your way to get there? Did you inherit that business? Nobody gives us credit. I won't say nobody, but a lot of people don't give us credit for earning that income. It's usually there's an underlying, so we're being judged, right? Or if you're the smallest earner at that table, we're also being judged. Looked down on, oh, she hasn't hit her prime. She doesn't know what she wants to do. That's not a long-lasting career. We've all been in all 3 of those situations if you're a woman. I don't care who you are, what age you are, right? And so for me, it's, have the conversations, be happy, give yourself grace. If you were in one of those situations, it's okay. Give yourself grace. So awareness, hard conversation, grace, and put your plan together to move on. Because I will tell you, your kids are watching you.
Hey, quick reminder, you can now get my book in 4 different ways. Head over to Amazon and search up I've Got You, Girlfriend. The subtitle is Why Getting Organized and Living This Mom Life is Not a Solo Mission. You can find it there on e-reader, that's through the Kindle app, paperback, hardcover, and the audiobook. So if you're enjoying this podcast, I have a feeling you may love the audiobook. Again, it's called I've Got You, Girlfriend, Why Getting Organized and Living This Mom Life is Not a Solo Mission. Thanks so much for making it a bestseller, and back to the show.
I have so many women that I coach and they're like, I want to give my kids the life I didn't have. Me too. But we're not setting ourselves up for success or our kids. If we don't teach our kids how to earn, if we don't teach our kids how to manage their money, if we don't teach our kids how to scrap through bad and hard times, what are we teaching them?
Yeah.
I mean, I know a little bit about your story. A fire rocked your world. I mean, you didn't have that in your future financially or spiritually or emotionally. I mean, anything can happen. If you're the paycheck for your family and you go down, what happens to the family?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where the accumulation comes in. We have to get out of debt through the awareness. Suck it up. I didn't take a vacation for 3 years. My family didn't die. We're still all living. I mean, those are hard decisions to tell your family, hey, we're not going on vacation. We're going to get out of debt. Mm-hmm. But you know what? We put our kids through college. They graduated with no debt. We were able to do that because of our savings. And our kids are money savvy. I don't have to worry about my kids. I'm not worried about my wealth outliving me for 40 years to take care of my kids because they're taking care of themselves. Mm-hmm. So I hope that was a long answer, but there's a lot of nuggets in there. Just simplify the process. I think money is so emotional and complicated that we turn a blind eye to it until it's too late. And then it's really hard to get out of that hole.
Yeah, you more than answered the question. I'm so grateful for everything you said because it was resonating. And I need to say, you really do tap into the heart of the woman who is struggling with these things, who doesn't want to say them out loud. I'm really glad. I mean, not the greatest thing to have the experience from coming from a difficult place, that things that you had to go through. I think that's what makes you a better coach because you can really understand. You can really not just sympathize, but empathize because you've been through it and you have been brave enough and bold enough. This is where that comes up. We talked about it at the beginning of this episode. You really have been brave enough and bold enough to say, I'm going to stop beating myself up for this and feel guilty about it and get stuff going, really make things happen. And that's what for sure I think a coach is so helpful and important because they can see things that maybe you don't see when you're so close to it and you're inside of it. So I love that you shared that when you said you thought that you had a time problem. They're like, you got a money problem and here's this. And you're like, okay, so we'll work on that time thing. But we need to focus first on this money thing. And I love too that you had a spouse who was willing to work with you. What a green flag kind of guy he is. My daughter is dipping her toe in the water of dating soon. And we've been talking about that. And I'm like, you got to look for those green flags,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't expect 15-year-old boys to know everything about everything at this point, but there are really those moments where you see someone's character based on how, their actions show that. And so what a great guy to work with his new wife where you guys were deciding this is what we're going to prioritize. I love how you talk about simplifying. I do want to say before we get too far into what I'm about to say about your book, I want to give my parents a shout out. I know that my mom listens all the time. My dad listens when he can as well. My parents were wonderful when it came to explaining to us the value of money. And I am so grateful because I believe that every time I get ready to make a decision financially, I think about stuff that they've taught me. I feel like they're getting into that retirement age and I feel like they could retire, but I'm like, man, I want to put you two on stage and I want to have you two teach, us some of this or other people, some of the stuff that you taught us. And I'm so grateful for that because I have made the decision that I'm not going to do something, while I will make sure I invest in things that are going to move the needle forward. And
Love
I love that you talked about deposits, and it doesn't have to be financially, but sometimes it is, and it is
that.
important. And so even just making sure I was investing when it came to the conference, when I went to Brooks, I immediately got a VIP ticket as soon as Amberly's put hers out. I was on the phone with my mom and this morning, and I'm like, I want to go to Justin Sinek's event. Wasn't he great too?
He was.
So great. And I said, I want to go to that too. And I know both of those are in April this year, but I want to go to that too. And I said, I just really, and of course, I want to go to the Align conference that's now going to be in November.
November. Yeah.
I love it. 2 in 1 year. Yes, please. 2026 is looking great for me now. I needed it after 2025. My goodness. And thank you for acknowledging that too. 'Cause those crazy fires, that was not on my bingo card, as people are saying, for 2025. And I feel like I do have the teaching that my parents gave me. I am listening to the things that you're saying as well. I'm going to take that with me as I make these financial decisions going forward. And I just want to shout out to my parents, like, thank you, mom and dad.
That's great. That's amazing.
Yeah, because I think, especially in this business too, where even like when I go into people's homes to organize, it feels like there are people. I have two types of clients. I have the clients who are already at the place where they know the value of investing and bringing someone in to get their space organized. They know that. They are there. They're tired of feeling disorganized, and they realize it's affecting every part of their life. I love working with that client so we can just hit the ground running. I also love working with a client who maybe wasn't raised the way that my parents raised us, who maybe wasn't raised the way that you and your husband have learned all these great things and are imparting these skills, absolute life skills, in your children. And I love working with those clients because when it clicks for them, when they have that aha moment, when they see that this is how much it's going to cost for me to come and help you, that's the financial part of it.
Yep.
But what it could be costing you in a bigger way is money that is going out the window because you're overbuying stuff because you're not organized and you don't know what you have. You're forgetting. Maybe, right? I see you nodding your head.
Yep, so true.
Yeah. Could you talk a little bit about that too, where maybe we do decide we're going to make these financial investments, and it does go hand in hand with what you're talking about, those deposits, but can you speak a little bit too about what it costs you when you don't choose to make those investments? Do you have any thoughts on that? I feel like you would.
Are you talking about investments for the future when you're not investing there? Yeah.
Yes. When you're choosing to kind of stay stuck and stay in the same place, and you made that really great comment about how you were like trying to stay ahead of debt. What did you say? Like you're chasing.
Yeah, I was being chased. Yeah. I was being chased by the IRS and bill collectors and everybody else. So yeah, I think when you stay in debt, and we could even plug in the word disorganization. We could plug in bad relationship, but we'll just plug in the word debt. When we stay in that debt and the fear of debt and the emotion around money, you're missing out on other opportunities, right? I mean, there may be a job that comes down the pike that is like the one you want, and you want to take it because you got to step back a little bit to go 3 steps forward in 90 days, but you can't. You can't see the forest for the trees because you're fearful all around money. That's an emotional money decision. I have people make those decisions all the time. Oh, I didn't take that job, or we got this opportunity to buy a rental house and we couldn't do it because. And I'm like, well, let's look at it long term. If you have some peace around your money and you have some money in the bank and you're not robbing Peter to pay Paul and all of those things, opportunities present themselves all the time, right? But if you're living in chaos and you need clarity, put some systems around your money. And you know what? I tell people, start with saving $25 a month. Then you can go to 50. Then you can go to 100. I mean, there's so many games that you can play with yourself. And I don't like the word addicted because I know that that's very painful for a lot of people. But when we finally got addicted to saving money, to realizing that I didn't have to take every client because they weren't right for me. I didn't have to work every weekend because we weren't going from Peter to Paul or Rob and Peter to feed our family or all of those things. And I will tell you, in real estate, the market, people who are listening to this, if you were in the market in like 7, 8, 9, the market collapsed, right? It was the colossal of all real estate markets. And I had just really started cooking with gas and we were saving, and the market tanked. And I had the best team and the best office. And I was like, cool, I'm either going to have to lay a lot of people off. What's going to happen? And so my husband and I started strategizing, and I said, you know what? I went to him. I talk about this in the book too. And I said, hey, could I borrow $150,000 from our personal savings account to plug into my business to keep the company afloat for a year? I won't have to eliminate anybody. We'll keep our systems going because I know this market's going to turn, and I bet on me. I know I'll still be alive when we come back around. And he said, yes. And so I was able to take that money, and guess what? I paid 0 interest. If I would have had to put that on a credit card, I would have been in 150, 180, $200,000 debt by the time I paid it back. And so at that point, it proved to me we can be our own bank. That was game changer for us. When we could finance a car for our kids, when we could buy a car without having to pay interest, when we could buy an investment property to change our portfolio, because we had been diligent about saving and investing and setting it aside, we had peace around it. We had peace around the fact that we don't have to lay anybody off. Now, we didn't take a check for a year. We lived out of our savings account, but I will tell you that turned my business around by not leaving and having to start over. And in 2011 was the first time I made a 7-figure income. And up until the day I sold my business, my income went up. Wow. And so I say that not to brag. I say that to say, invest in yourself. Have that peace. Don't have emotion around your money. Stockpile for the rainy day. I mean, you've been through a rainy day in the last year. You never know what you're going to need. And I'm telling you, the debt in the US is at an all-time high because of credit cards. And if we can learn not to live on a credit card, and we can teach our kids not to live on a credit card, and you can be your own bank, life is beautiful. I was able to retire at 50, and I didn't have to work anymore if I don't want to. But I want to. I want to go teach other people. I'm very passionate about that. Not only money, but sales, time, empowerment, clarity, vision, whatever you want to talk about. I'm happy to talk about it after being in business 35 years, but I do it because I want to, and it's a whole different ballgame for me now.
Oh, that is so good. I love your story. I mean, you really do hit on all the different parts that we could encounter in our lives, in our business, personally and professionally. Gosh, even that time that you just mentioned, we lived in New York in 2008 to 2010, and my husband was in finance, and he was on the front lines. And he used to come home and he was like, I mean, he was depressed. He was like, I am seeing guys waiting outside of our New York Times office, and they are launching full beer cans at the CEOs when they are coming out of these. Like, the security was so high because they were screwed.
They were so fearful.
And they were desperate, and they wanted to provide for their families, and they were being laid off. And that's so interesting, the way that you said, when you're talking about investing yourself and having your own income be your bank instead of getting into debt. And, I really love the way that you have talked about so many different parts of the coin, like so many different ways that we could encounter, whether it's financial struggle or just being mentally stuck. Of course, I love that you're talking about how we can plug in organization and disorganization with debt and things like that in really causing us to be stuck. And I love that you are all about putting in the systems and the strategies to support people in that way. And you guys, I just want to tell you, like, this book is so good. And what I love so much about this book, it's actually something that I really felt compelled when I was writing my book. Instead of writing a book and having a companion workbook, I decided to merge the two. It made my book a little bit longer because I wanted to have some space for the reader, not to have a whole other, thing to work through. I wanted the reader to be able to have a pen or a highlighter or a crayon if you were a mom, and I wanted people to be able, maybe they were nursing at 2 a.m. and they needed to scribble in as they're reading through this book what they want to do to get more organized. I love that your book is like this too. And one more thing, if you could speak to, can you talk about the Daily Well with you have yours in the back. This is so good. I have been diving into it. Instead of me talking about it, can you just speak to this really quickly? Because it is so cool. And you were so kind to send this or to give this to me at a line. And I am geeking out over it. Can you talk about, I love the why behind it. You've already given us the how to help us get through some things. Can you talk about the why behind creating this notebook, this daily well, where it has, I don't want to give it all away, you tell, multiple things that will help us all in one place. I love that you have simplified. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the daily well is to live your life with intention. Everything we've been talking about today, disorganization is a time suck, systems are money in the bank. And so when I travel and speak, I would have my daily devotional, my notebook, my calendar, my journal. I mean, all the things. And so the joke was my book bag always weighed more than my suitcase. And so I've been praying about it for years. And I was able to partner with a young lady who I adore, Julie Davis. And we both had dreams of creating a planner for women. And it came together. And so the Daily Well is a way to manage your life intentionally. From your 6-month goal setting, your budgeting plan is in there and a step-by-step of how to do a budget. If you're really looking for a simple, easy plan, it's what I teach. It is your daily workflow from the morning you wake up, starting strong. We track your hydration, your diet, your body movement, your vitamins, your sacred pause. There's your workflow from 5 a.m. to 7 p.m. There's a place for journaling, affirmations, reflections, whatever you want. Then your to-do list is on there. There is month at a glance pages in there. And then the really game changer for most women that they love is in the back. There's like 25 note pages lined. And so that is my notebook for the whole 6 months. There's 6-month increments. And so when I go into a meeting, I take my notes in my notebook and then they go on the shelf. And so 6 months from now, I can go pull my past one and go like, oh, the meeting I had with Paige, when I took all the notes about her kids' names and, you know, what's her dreams and goals, I can go back to that instead of having tons of notebooks and they're full, then we throw them away. We can't find the notes. So it was just a place to really manage our time and our lives in an organization, one spot. So you can follow us on Daily Well Planner. On Instagram, you can order at the dailywellplanner.store. You can order them on my website, which is just my name. And once you order them, we will remind you in a couple months when the new ones come out because they run January to June and July to December. So thank you.
I love it so much. And you gave it to me and you're like, okay, girlfriend, I know you're in this business of organization. Take a look. And if you see anything that you feel like it's missing, here's what I have to say. No notes. No notes. I mean, I think the kids these days, they're going to be horrified if they hear me say this, but I'm going to take a shot at it. I believe they say you ate and left no crumbs. You ate and left no crumbs. You have crushed this. It is beautiful. It is simple. It's got this gorgeous spiral gold down the side. It's got the cover, which I love on the front because I feel like it's white clean. So I love if I've sat it on my counter a couple of times and I've picked it up and I'm like, oh no, there's water. Oh no, there's coffee. So I'm like, and I'm like, oh, it's still good. I mean, it's got the tabs. I love the tabs. So you can quickly at a glance grab stuff that you need. I love when you said, and at the very back, I knew what you were going to say because I love that note section. So much of what I have is digitized now. I have it in my phone. How many times have I thought I could be sent into like a full panic, blind rage if ever my phone disappears because I will lose so many things. And I have always been a proponent of writing stuff down because I feel like it takes it from your brain. It makes it real and it makes it actionable when you write it down. And you have given us an awesome place to do this.
Thank you.
I am so grateful. I am so grateful. Thank you for sharing where we can find that. I'm going to put all these links in the show notes, you guys, because I really want you to go down the rabbit hole of Kendra Cooke. Okay. KendraCooke.com, and Cook has an E on the end of it. So Kendra Cooke with an E.com, and go there and just find all of this goodness. You can read a little bit more. I told her right before we got on, I said, I could go in and I could read your bio, but I said, you I just want to dive in with you. You have so much greatness that I want to get out to be shared. Please, can we just dive right in and get to talking? And you have delivered, over delivered, as you're so good at sharing all this goodness with us today. Is there anything else, Kendra, that you would like for people to know, how they can reach you outside of kendracooke.com? And tell us your Instagram. You are on Instagram now. Tell us your social, how we can work with you, and any other parting words you may have for us.
Oh, thank you so much. Everything is Kendra Cooke. I'm a simple girl, so I got to keep it simple. I use the KISS method, if you know what that means. And so Instagram, Facebook, LinkedIn, my website has a lot of information, but really just thank you for this opportunity to plug in with some new ladies, and hopefully everybody took a little something away. I'm super grateful for our new relationship and how it will unfold in the years ahead, and just want to wish you continued success. And to everybody listening, listen, just take the first step. It's just awareness. If you're unaware of your disorganization, unaware of your money, just start with making a list. I'm the list queen. I love lists, and make a list and then start tackling the list one thing at a time.
Yes, I love that. And don't forget, you can do that and feel very organized if you get the Daily Well, if you get Embrace, Empower, and Evolve, the book. These are such great tools. She will not steer you wrong. I'm telling you, you can trust this woman. She is incredible. I do. I trust her. I am going to be making great decisions going forward, and know that I've got you to check in with and say, like, how am I doing on this? Okay, I tried this. What do you think? And you'll tell me the truth, won't you?
I will, I promise.
Yes, I believe that. Thank you so much for being a guest on today. I just absolutely love you, and I look forward to seeing you soon. I mean, we've got to be in the same room together many more times, right?
We will, for sure. Love you, friend. See
love
you
you so
Bye,
much.
guys.
All right, you guys, come back and join us in the next 2 weeks. Thanks so much for listening, and I'll talk to you then. Bye-bye.
Thanks for listening to another episode of the Time to Pivot podcast. If it was helpful for you, I'd love for you to head over to Apple Podcast, hit that 5th star, and write a review. Want to book me to speak at your next event, or work with me one-on-one to get clarity around your gifts, how to serve others, and go from stuck and stressed to focused and fulfilled? Reach out on the contact page at everythingwithstyle.com and connect with me on social at everythingwithstylemom. Thanks again for listening and sharing the podcast. And Mom Boss, remember this: your gifts are meant to be shared. Don't keep them to yourself and stay in your comfort zone. This is your time to pivot.